welcome to Progressive Grocer today. I'm Emily Crow, multimedia editor at Progressive Grocer. I'm so excited to continue our work with this new podcast where we take a deep dive into market changing and often urgent topics that affect both daily operations and the longer term future of the grocery industry. Joining me today is Rebecca Lupfer, Senior Vice President and Chief Merchant for the Giant Company, and also one of Progressive Grocer's top Women in Grocery honorees. In her role, Rebecca leads all aspects of merchandising for the multi-billion-dollar business, as well as commercial planning and pricing. She's here with us to discuss the ever important and ever evolving practice of retailer supplier collaboration. Rebecca, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to talk with you today.
Great. So, we all know today's consumers are more discerning and expect more than ever before from both grocers and brands. So, we're also learning that retailer supplier collaboration can be a key to unlocking a better experience for those shoppers. So, Rebecca, to start broadly, what does true retailer supplier collaboration look like across the grocery supply chain and also across shopping channels?
Yeah, I think, it's a really great question and one that's really important to us as retailers and even as a supplier partner. When I sit down with our supplier partners, I like to talk about our results and their results are actually the same. They just might be cut differently and how we get there. But in the end, we have to start with what's right for our customer. That is probably the number one thing when we talk with our supplier partners is making sure that we are looking at it from the same lens, being completely transparent about our shoppers, what's happening, what is changing within their shopping pattern. So that's when you talk about shopping across channel, what's happening, how are they transitioning, how do we stay relevant on both sides, and making sure that we are sometimes having some of those tougher conversations that are a little uncomfortable. Everyone likes to cycle and do what we've always done before, but there are times where that just doesn't work. So I think the biggest thing about that collaboration is making sure that that customer is in the forefront of everything that we're doing and that we're all marching towards a common goal of meeting their needs.
So you kind of touched on it, but again, why is retailer supplier collaboration such an important part of delivering on those heightened shopper expectations?
Yeah, I mean, we're completely interdependent upon each other. As a retailer, I won't have product to sell if I don't have that collaboration and strong partnership. And then, they need us as the platform to really reach that end consumer. So, again, we can't actually do business without each other. So, it's probably, again, a key driver of why those partnerships are so important is because it is a mutual customer that we're going after. And we both play such a critical role in that interdependent relationship between the retailer and the supplier partners.
So, how does data play into all of this ecosystem?
Yeah, data is so important. So my background before being in merchandising is actually in finance. So for me, facts are key. Facts don't lie, right? They tell us what consumer trends are, but they also only tell us so much. They tell us what historically has happened, maybe a little bit of a nod to what we expect to happen in the future. But we really need to be grounded that when we're looking at facts, we're looking at it the same way, that we again understand what they mean to our business, that we are looking for ways to take inefficiencies out of our business or make sure we have the right product or the right holding power on our shelves, specifically talking about from our angle. But then it's also making sure that with the data, we're also then just applying a little bit of art behind that to say, well, what are we maybe seeing that the data, the data points haven't picked up yet that we want to make sure that we're also capitalizing on. But really, in all honesty, every decision that we make really needs to start with what do the facts tell us? And how do we make sure that we're discerning those facts to make better business decisions collectively?
And finally, in what ways is the giant company making this collaboration happen in its own operations? And what benefits have you seen?
Yeah. So, it's very timely to have this conversation. We just earlier this week launched our very first One Giant Vendor Summit where we brought our vendors in across all of our portfolios. So, whether it's a fresh vendor to a center store vendor, to some of our support partners internally within the Ahold Deleuze network, really to say, hey, we want you to understand who we are and how we're going to market. So, for us, it really is about how do we drive that collaboration and let them know that we want to partner with them. We want to be the place that you want to come and test and try things. We want to make sure that as our operations, we are picking up the phone. My team knows that even if it's sometimes a tough conversation, you need to be picking up the phone and having that or taking the meetings, looking at new products that are out there, looking at that innovation. So we really want to make sure that we are that place that's flexible, we're transparent, and we're also honest with our vendor partners and have some really good conversations that drive us into the future, maybe even in a little bit different way than we have in the past.
Wonderful. Well, Rebecca, thank you for these wonderful insights and for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
For more information about the Progressive Grocer Today podcast, please visit www.progressivegrocer.com/podcasts. You can also subscribe to this series wherever you typically listen, including on Apple, Google, and Spotify. See you next time, and thanks so much for listening.